Hello and good morning, Mets fans. How are you doing today?
We're doing great. We're really excited to jump in. I think we have a very exciting podcast to think about. And I know that Eli can answer lots of questions about pitching, and he's going to jump right in because he has a lot of his own ideas, right? Because the
Yeah,
New York Mets have a talented pitching staff, and there's a lot to talk about. They added several new pitchers over the offseason, including Paul Blackburn, Scan Manica, and Frankie Montas. And they've also, is that right?
so first of all, they signed Paul Blackburn at the trade deadline last year. So he's kind of new. A lot of Mets fans think they signed him in the offseason because he missed a lot of games with a spinal surgery and it was really scary. Also, it's Sean Manaea. So yeah, they did add Frankie Montas. They also added Clay Holmes. Today was pronounced to be the Mets opening day starter.
Whoa. That means we get to see him on opening day, right?
Yeah.
We're all going.
No, we're going to the home opener, not the
Oh, that's a different one?
Yeah. So I wanted to so you know a little bit about the Mets pitchers. We're gonna break down every single one for you, even the injured ones. We're
Okay,
not gonna do the minor leaguers like Brandon Sproat and so on.
that makes sense. Let me just add that they also got a new assistant pitching coach to work with the team's existing coaching staff, Desi Drussel. So
You
that
are
should be.
exactly right about that.
Thank you. All right, take it away, Eli.
First, I'm going to start with Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga is from Japan when the Mets got him in 2023. In the Mets in 2023, they weren't very good. But one bright spot was Kodai Senga. He was amazing. He was considered Rookie of the Year, but lost to Corbin Carroll. Unfortunately, he hasn't won an award yet. In 2024, he missed all the season but one game that I watched where he went down. So he was injured most of 2024. Came back in the postseason, didn't play great, and he's in spring training and he's playing fine. So I have high hopes. Now I'm gonna go to Sean Manaea. So this spring training, Sean Manaea did get injured, but let's go back to the point here. So Sean Manaea signed with the Mets in 2024. They didn't think he was going to be really that guy. So he was pitched well for the first few months before the All-Star break. And then he kind of slumped. He slumped right around the All-Star break, like right before and right after. And right after that slump, he was unhittable. Like literally, I don't remember a time that Sean Manaea had a loss in that stretch. He was amazing in the pennant race and one of the Mets' key factors to making it into the wild card.
How many shutouts did he have where nobody got a hit off of him?
Oh, he didn't have any no-hitters.
Okay, but when he was pitching, he kept it so that nobody got a great hit off of him?
I said unhittable, but they could hit him, but he was unhittable like kind of spectacular.
I see. Okay. But so people got some hits off of him, but not in an outstanding way, just a few here and there. Got it.
Let's go back to the pitchers. Now I want to add an interesting one, Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes has been on the Yankees for his whole career. The Mets signed him in the offseason, and he was always a closer. For the Yankees, he was always a closer. He was a pretty good closer, but he didn't have the best control. So what the Mets are doing, they're making a really risky move by changing him from a closer to a starter. And we're going to see how that pays out because Clay Holmes, they are announcing him as the starting pitcher on opening day.
Wow. You know what? His full name is Clayton Walter Holmes. And you know what? This month is his birthday, March 27th. He's going to turn.
I knew that. Yeah.
You did. And you know what? How old he's going to turn? Okay. Well, he was born in 1993. So that means I think he's going to be 32. He was initially a relief pitcher. And his previous
I just explained that.
Yeah. And his previous teams were the Pittsburgh Pirates and New York Yankees.
But did I
say you know his career highlights?
Career? Okay, I'm sorry. He played for the Pirates too.
Yeah. He made his MLB debut in 2018 because became the Yankee closer, and was an MLB All-Star in 2022 and 2024. Signed with the Mets in 2024 to become a starter, and here he is. He's starting, right? Has become a valuable asset for the team, right?
He will become.
Great.
I wouldn't say he has become. He's done good in spring training so far, but
Excellent.
anyways, the next pitcher, let's go to Frankie Montas. Frankie Montas, he's kind of like the lost person for the Mets in some free agency. They picked him up, signed him for, I believe, a 2-year contract, and they hoped him to be possibly another Sean Manaea kind of 2024 Sean Manaea. He was with the Brewers last year. He played well. I think he got injured. So the Mets are hoping he's going to make a positive impact. But for the start of the season, he will be on the IL. Our last two pitchers are going to be Paul Blackburn and Griffin Canning. I'll start with Paul Blackburn. As we were talking about earlier, Paul Blackburn got signed at the trading deadline of 2024. I believe he got traded from the Athletics, and then the Mets got him. He did well in his first start with the Mets, winning against the Angels 5-. The reason I know that is I just remember watching that game.
Cool.
So, and Paul Blackburn, he had a really scary injury. He had to do surgery, had something to do with the spine, and he's back out there, and he's going to try to be on the pitching rotation sooner or later. All right, last but not least was Griffin Canning. Griffin Canning played for the Angels the past 2 years. And if you know who Griffin Canning is, you're like, why are you thinking that Griffin Canning is going to be good? He's horrible. Okay.
Ooh, that's a strong statement.
That's what a lot of people are probably going to say. He was 3-12 last year. No one wants to sign a guy like that. Why would you put him in your starting rotation? First of all, he did a pretty good spring training start last week. Also, he is really good. You might not see the potential in him. You think I might be making up excuses just because I'm a Mets fan and he signed up with the Mets. I think he has the potential to be a good player. When he was in his peak, he was a good pitcher. And I think he can still get back, maybe not to his peak, but can still get back to being a winning pitcher. And I am excited to have him on the Mets. So
sounds good.
That's a whole pitcher breakdown for you guys. Now I kind of want to talk about how I think the rotation is going to shape out with the injuries. So the two injuries for the starting rotation that I want to talk about are Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas. I know if you're the Mets fan, you're going to be like, more injuries. No one wants injuries. It's a horrible part of the game. They're only going to be out. They should be able to come back in April. So I think we're fine with it. But I feel like the opening day roster might be a little bit. I forgot to break down one pitcher. I'm sorry about that. David Peterson. He's really tall. He was drafted by the Mets, and he was always regular, average pitcher. But last year, he missed the start of the season. But then, when he came back, he went 7-0, and he did amazing, I think, with his final record being 11-2. He was a key part in the pennant run.
Didn't Blackburn have a stress fracture of his foot, but they got him back in the lineup pretty quickly?
And then he had something with the spine.
Yeah, because he was originally brought in to help strengthen the Mets' rotation depth, particularly after injuries to other starting pitchers like Christian Scott and Kodai Senga. And he missed some time with the stress fracture, but I think he returned to the mound shortly before the trade, right?
Yeah.
Great.
So I think that's my breakdown for Peterson. So I think the rotation is going to look like this. Griffin Canning, Kodai Senga, David Peterson, and Clay Holmes.
And what about the others? What happens there?
So Paul Blackburn, Sean Manaea, and Frankie Montas are, I think, what you mean by the others.
Well, aren't there others that
should be here pretty soon?
Okay.
I think they want him to recover for a few weeks. Meanwhile, with Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas, they're going to miss about the first several weeks of the season. I don't think they're going to be out till, I think they should be here before May.
Okay, that's good because I think originally Sean Manaea his experience and proven track record as a starter, he seemed to be the likely candidate to anchor the rotation. But it sounds like the injury is going to keep him sidelined for a little bit, right?
I mean, we were lucky that the injury was not too horrible and it happened only in spring training, because if it happened like near opening day, then he would have missed a lot more of the regular season. So we're happy about that.
Okay. Well, I'm happy too, because the next in the lineup when I was doing some research is Kodai Senga, and it says if he's able to stay healthy, Senga would be a valuable addition to the rotation because of his impressive repertoire of pitches. Do you agree?
I think his signature pitch, the Ghost Fork, is definitely his strikeout pitch, also his signature pitch. But I think his he does have a good repertoire of pitches. And I think if he stays healthy and he does better in the regular season than he did in spring training in the postseason, then I think he can definitely anchor the rotation with Manaya and Montas out. Yeah. So that's really going to be like kind of it for the pitching. Now I want to talk about some other notable injuries.
All right. I wanted to finish the list I saw because it'll be interesting to see if your predictions pan out. But number 3 was Clay Holmes, because although he's not had success as a closer, he has the potential to be a strong. He has?
Yeah.
Well, what I learned is that he has potential to be a strong starter for the Mets. And then what do you think about that?
Everybody is literally, I don't care who it is. You could go and say someone that didn't get a single win last season and pitched 10 games. You could say that, and they could be a good starter. I don't care what team they play for. I don't care if they play for the worst team in the MLB. I don't care if they play for the best team in the MLB. A pitcher can be a good pitcher. So
you want to give everybody a chance, Eli?
Yeah.
Got it.
If they pitch horribly, sure, you can trade them with some other guys for something else. You can do that if you want to. I think Clay Holmes, he didn't go 0-10. He didn't go 0-5. He didn't go 17-0. He didn't do that. But, like, he was, like, a pretty average closer. So,
okay, great.
I think that he can definitely be a good pitcher for the Mets.
Excellent. And then the other two, just if we could finish the list to close it, is Paul Blackburn, as you said, has experience and versatility, would make him a key piece of the rotation. And finally, Griffin Canning, which I think you agree with, is a promising young pitcher who can make an impact in the rotation if he's given the opportunity. What do you think?
I definitely agree with the whole Griffin Canning thing.
All right. The ball's in your court. You're up at bat.
Some other notable injuries and roster things. This is really bad news. If you didn't know this, you might be like, Eli, you have to be kidding me. I'm not kidding. It sucks. But 2 injuries that happened recently that are really annoying for the Mets is, I think you have to start with Francisco Alvarez. It really sucks. He's an amazing young catcher. He has a ton of potential. It's a lot of talent. His rookie year was in 2023. I mean, it sucks that he had to get injured. I mean, it's not like you can control him getting injured or not. If you could, then we would definitely not make him get injured. So yeah.
So they're on the disabled list for now?
Yeah. Also, one other person, Jeff McNeil, he got injured. And you're like, my God, can you just stop with the injuries? This is
How did that happen? How did that happen?
He strained his right oblique.
That can get better pretty quickly.
Yeah. They said he should only be out 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I can help them. If they ever need help getting players better, we know how to do that.
So with Jeff McNeil and Francisco Alvarez, I know you're saying, oh my God, you just said you stopped talking about injuries. Okay, I will. With Francisco Alvarez and Jeff McNeil injured, who is going to be the second baseman and the catcher? Right now, I think the top people who can fit the job would be Brett Baty and Luis Angel Acuna. And you might scream at me and say, Brett Baty? Well, he's a third baseman.
Right.
He can play second base. It is his secondary position, and he can play it well, and the Mets want to put him there. If they need to, they have Luis Angel Acuna, which I think a lot of Mets fans would prefer him there, but Brett Baty can definitely go there. I think you might get mad at me for saying this, but they might have it. Luis Angel Acuna as the backup and Baty as the starter.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually think there's a definite good probability. I know you're thinking to me like, Eli, is this like, are you really a Mets fan with like all these negative comments? I am. I'm just trying to break news to you. That's all I'm doing.
But I do have a list of some of the notable injuries. AJ Minter with a labrum tear in his left hip. That's like and then Nick Madrigal.
Yeah, Nick Madrigal's going to be out the whole season.
Fractured left shoulder. That's bad. Daniel Nunez, strained right flexor tendon. How do you pronounce it?
Daniel Nunez.
Nunez. Sean Mattisey, strained right oblique, which we already talked about. Frankie Montaz has an injury detail but not specified. Drew Smith, same thing. Ronnie Mauricio, injury details but not specified. Same thing with Christian Scott. Forced the Mets, which I think you already mentioned, to make some unexpected roster decisions, such as converting Clay Holmes to a starter for opening day.
No, they were going to do that no matter what. They were going to put Clay Holmes as a starter no matter what. In the offseason, they're thinking, like, before they even made the deal with Clay Holmes, they're saying, all right, the Mets are probably a team that are going to sign Clay Holmes and make him a starter. That's what they did, right? The day that they signed him, they said, you're going to be a starter. So it doesn't really have to do anything with the injuries. It definitely does help because there are injuries. So that is a thing. Also, I want to say for the catchers, I already said Alvarez was injured. The two people that could play catcher are Luis Duran's, the obvious one, and Jackson Reitz. You're saying to me, who? And I get that. I never heard them either. Jackson Reitz, he's the catcher who's played in spring training so far, and he's done pretty well. So if Torrens gets injured, Jackson Reitz will be the guy to replace him. The Mets, if they don't want to get injured, more likely, they should in the future, not saying now, sign younger players because they're usually more healthy and have a less chance to get physical injuries.
What's your definition of younger players? What age group?
Like 30.
Got it. Once you hit 30, it's all over.
No, it's not. It's not all over. It's not like, oh my God, I'm 31. I'm going to get injured the first day. And when I come back, I'm going to get injured the third I come back. And then when I come back from that, I'm going to get injured again. It's not like that. It's just you have a little bit of a higher chance when you turn 30. It's because 20, you're usually more healthy.
Do you want to know something from my work as a medical doctor? You're 100% correct that in the 30s, that's when our bodies begin to sort of decline unless we actively work to keep ourselves healthy. So injuries are more common in the 30s because we're not as strong as we are in our 20s. But there's ways to beat that. Stay tuned for my podcast, which is separate, called Healthy Longevity. And that maybe pitchers who are, or players in their 30s can actually stop getting injured if they stay strong.
I'm also going to the Mets home opener against the Toronto Blue Jays.
Really? Who are you going with?
Not opening day, but it's the Mets home opener.
What's the opening day? When's opening day?
When is opening day?
Do you know? Is it after the home opener?
It's either March 27th or March 29th.
Okay. Yeah, I think they start by playing away games, right?
Not all teams do.
But they do. That's why the home opener is on April 7th. It's not April 7th. It's actually April 4th.
I think the whole thing, if you watched last podcast, you were hearing me talk about strong up the middle. There was a guy who I completely forgot about, and I'm changing this. When Jeff McNeil's healthy, when Francisco Alvarez is healthy. This is how catcher, second base, shortstop, center field, and left field are looking for me. At catcher, I want Francisco Alvarez when he's healthy. Second base, Jeff McNeil when he's healthy. At shortstop, Francisco Lindor. At center field, Jose Siri. At left field, Brandon Nimmo.
Okay. And you think that's where it's going to start? Or those are
I think, because Jose Siri, the Mets didn't pick him up for his power. They didn't pick it up for his bat. They picked him up for his some of the best in the game defense. He plays amazing defense.
Excellent. That sounds good. Anything else you think might be helpful for the fans to hear before?
I'll give you some news like around
opening
baseball
day
if you want. I also I've seen a lot of stuff about signings, but that's all boring stuff. Anyway,
what about other teams? Do you want to throw in anything about?
Talk about other teams. The Cubs have been a surprise, really. And the Cactus League being one of the best teams there. So It's a little bit surprising. You might have noticed something. You might have noticed that a lot of the bad teams play their good players, and a lot of the good teams play their bad players.
Why?
So that's why you might see some of the good teams be worse. Why? What, did you say why?
Why are they doing that? That's my question.
So why are they doing that? Usually for the good teams, it's because they want to see if they have good roster depth with other players
I
that they
see.
think they can call up eventually. And for the bad teams, they really don't have like a lot of guys to like really like actually like play for them.
So they're playing with they're going with whatever players they
One
have.
team that I think has a shortage of either pitching or hitting has to be the Rockies, because a lot of pitchers don't want to sign there because the high altitude and easier hit balls. Also, there's this pitcher on the Rockies named Jeffrey Yan, who his celebration is he leaps up in the air after a strikeout.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know. Any other teams you want to shout out to for any reason?
This is a Royals injury,
Mm.
but there's good news. So Bobby Witt Jr. for the Royals, who is one of the young stars in the game, he got hit on the forearm and had to take it out. Luckily, the MRIs and X-rays have come back clean, and they're saying he should be day to day. So that is good news. Also, if you didn't know this, I don't know why I brought this up. I just thought of this. The MLB The Show 25, the cover athletes, instead of one athlete this year, it's 3. It's Paul Skeens, Gunnar Henderson, Ellie De La Cruz, being side by side by side.
Excellent. All right. I think we hit it out of the ballpark. It feels like a grand slam today. I was very fascinated by your thoughts on the pitchers, the new ones, the current roster, and where we're going with it. Any last comments you want to add, or you think it's a wrap?
Yeah, I do want to add maybe a few last things. Some surprising players in Mets camp that I think have done really good. I mean, I wouldn't say surprise, but Juan Soto's been pretty good. Jose Siri hasn't hit that well, but he has hit 3 home runs so far, so he's been pretty good. The other day I was watching the Astros game where Donovan Moulton, you probably haven't heard of, hit a grand slam. And then Griffin Canning, who I was talking about, pitched 4 2/3 innings of shutout ball the other day. I think the Mets have even though their record might not show it, they've had some promising spring training games, players, and performances.
Sounds good. I'm excited that the season is starting soon.
I know.
Frankly,
really
it's been
exciting.
annoying that the Mets have not really shined during the spring training, but I'm looking forward to a great season.
I'm looking forward to a great season too. I have this blog my dad shows me every day. It's about the Mets and stuff. And they did this new thing where they have a poll. One of the polls is, how many wins do you think the Mets were going to get? And literally 0 people voted less than 80. So I
Wow.
think the most people voted 90 to 95.
What do you
So
think?
I would probably vote 90 to 95.
Okay, I'm going to vote 100 or more just to have an ongoing bet here.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course we want to vote that. I mean, I wouldn't say it's not realistic. It's definitely possible. The Mets did it 3 years ago. But I wouldn't say, because last year, nobody reached 100 wins. The closest was the Dodgers with 90 or 96.
I see.
Mets
So
had
maybe I should
89.
revise it and say 85 to 90 if you say 90 to
No,
95.
I didn't think 85 to 90. I think
What do you think?
94.
94 to 95?
Yeah, 94, 95.
So why don't you take 90 to 95 and I'll take 95 to 100?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's a bet. Okay, I think it's time for closing. It's been fun again. I've had a great time learning more and more about the Mets. Better, I think, at pronouncing their names. I got a couple wrong, but most of them I got right? I've been studying. We'll plan for the next podcast next week.
I just want to say to the people who are watching this podcast for the first time, some of this stuff either may sound like I'm accusing other teams of being bad just because I'm a Mets fan, or like I talking about some bad news for the Mets, which makes it sound like I'm not actually a Mets fan and I'm faking it. I'm not. I'm just trying to report news for you.
Got it. We got it. No, it's great. It's a
And I'm
great
trying to be
conversation.
for real. That's why in my other podcasts,
Well, that's because you're really real. You tell it as it is.
Trying to tell the truth. Yeah,
Right.
that's why.
That's what we want. We want
well-
transparency.
It sounds like a hashtag.
It is a hashtag. Hashtag Eli for real. telling the truth no matter who, but even though he's the biggest Mets fan in the universe, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Closing out. We'll catch up with you later.
Peace.
Take care. Go Mets.